Welcome to the Heads Together podcast. I'm your host, Jill Mokes, and I'm so happy you're here. And I feel a little bit, not nostalgic. What do I feel? I feel a little bit tearful. But it's in a really good way, really good way. Because today, this episode 169, is the last episode of the Heads Together podcast. Stop the wailing. It's okay. Don't throw yourselves out the window. It's okay. It's just a change in name. I know. Super dramatic. My whole family is that dramatic. Honestly, it's hilarious. Yeah, we're moving into a new era of Heads Together. We'll still be getting our heads together every single week, same time, same place. But from next week onwards, episode 170, there will be a new name of this podcast. From next week onwards, this podcast becomes ReWild Your Business. I am beyond excited for this. This has been coming for a while now, and it isn't that we're stepping into something radically different. What we are moving into with ReWild Your Business is more of a doubling down on my own thought leadership around what it really takes to build a business now, 2025. What does it really take? Not to just build any business, but what does it really take to build a business that is completely led by your soul, by the thing that you can't not do? What does it mean now to build a business where you get to do the work that really, truly matters to you and get paid for it, right? So I think what we are stepping into now, as I kind of put a bookend against Heads Together and then open up this new space, which is ReWild Your Business, is that we get to deepen everything we've been exploring together so far. We get to deepen all of the work around how do you get to grow your business in a way that feels good to you? How do you get to do it your way? What does your way look like? What does it mean to build your own ecosystem around how you build your business? What does it mean to tune into your intuition and allow that to play a huge part in the decisions you make that are right for you and right for your business? That's what we're deepening into. But that's to come next week, because this week we are still in Heads Together mode, and I feel like this episode is a bit of a love letter to Heads Together, to everything that this podcast has meant to me over the last 169 episodes and counting. It's a love letter to all the guests that have been on the show, and definitely it's a love letter to you, my wonderful, wonderful listeners who in the beginning days of Heads Together were very few and far between. I've got to be honest. It was talking into a void. Let's be quite truthful about that. But now it isn't. Now I know you're there. You make yourselves known to me. Every time when I make a plea, like a desperate plea for you to email me, because you know how much I like getting your emails in my inbox. You come up trumps every time and you let me know you're there listening and that this podcast matters to you and is helping you on your business building journey, which just means the world to me. It's why I do it. So yeah, this episode is really a beautiful bookend to Heads Together and an introduction to ReWild Your Business. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Heads Together podcast. I'm Jill Mokes, and I am obsessed with cutting through the noise when it comes to growing your business. Each week, via intimate coaching conversations and inspirational stories, I share what it really takes to get the results you want in a way that feels right to you. I am all about attracting higher ticket opportunities, building authentic relationships, and creating the abundant, full-fat version of your dream business. I mean, how many of us have beavered away creating a light version of what we really want? The thing is, I honestly believe when you're outstanding at what you do, there is no limit to what you can achieve. So, are you ready to put our heads together and make it happen? Let's go. So this podcast, Heads Together, honestly, it kind of started as a bit of an experiment, which honestly is what I look at all marketing as. One experiment after another. What works, what doesn't work, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. But I started this podcast like I do a lot of things without an awful lot of planning. It was very instinctive. It was, oh my goodness, how hard can it be to do a podcast? I'll just turn the mic on and chat. Probably that's why it did take rather a while for this podcast to warm up, to find its feet, to find its personality, to find its place in the podcasting world. Top 3% podcast now. Thank you very much. And growing week on week. I don't feel like I'm showing off to say that. I'm so bloody proud of that, honestly. And it hasn't happened by accident. It's happened because I've shown up every single week after week, whether I felt crap or felt good. When I listen back to some of the episodes where I've obviously had like a really sore throat or something, I sound terrible. But I showed up because it really meant something to me to do this consistently. I haven't always been consistent in other areas of my business. And I've shared lots about that in terms of how I have a really low tolerance for doing anything that doesn't feel good to me, right? And I'm not going to change that about myself. It's something that I am pretty unapologetic about, only doing things in a way that feel good to me. That's not to say that at the beginning of my business building journey, I had the confidence to do that. I definitely didn't. I just copied what I saw other people doing. But over time, I've really honed my own way of doing things, and I found the confidence to do things my way. And now it's what I teach other people to do because I know how well it works. Because I know that by doubling down on what's right for you, that is going to be your shortest route, your most effective route, and your most profitable route to growing your business. But anyway, like I say, this podcast, it started as an experiment. I knew I wanted to talk. I knew that I didn't want to have to always put makeup on and get my lighting right and all the other stuff that goes into a YouTube channel. And also, I was an avid podcast listener. So there were some people who had podcasts that I listened to back then. People like Marie Forleo, I would listen to, Amy Porterfield, all those OGs of the online business world. I would listen to their podcasts. I have to say that the podcasts I listen to now look very different to what I listened to back in the early days of growing my business. But certainly those kind of OGs really got me into the habit of listening to podcasts. Every single morning I listen to a podcast while I'm doing my makeup, while I'm getting ready for my day. And so it was quite a natural decision to me to get into podcasting. I didn't have a clue whether I would actually be able to do it or not. But one of the things that I know about myself is that I'm not scared of trying things. I'm definitely not scared of failing. Good job, because lots of things go tits up. But I'm definitely not afraid of experimenting, trying something, seeing how it feels. If I like it, I keep it. If I don't like it, I put it down. So I knew I wanted to talk, and I knew I wanted to talk very honestly about what it really takes to build a business that feels good, that works well, that actually means something to you. And somewhere along the way, honestly, that has changed into something that feels bigger. So I thought what would be nice in this sunset episode of Heads Together is to kind of share the things that over the last 3 years, the things that I've really learned from podcasting, from this podcast, as a business owner, as a coach, as a pretty decent human, I think, navigating this kind of wild west of online business. First thing I want to talk about is the thing I've learned about what people want from us when we share our content, when we share opinions, when we share our thought leadership. And that is that they don't want polish, but they really won't tolerate anything that isn't authentically me. I have had people who listen to this podcast call me out, and they've literally called me out when I've had ChatGPT script an episode for me. And I thought no one would notice. I thought I could quite get away with that without anyone noticing. I think I was really short on time. And instead of doing what I usually do, which is like just map out my bullet points and then chat like I am now, I really got a whole episode scripted. I have done it a couple of times, if I'm honest, when I've been super short of time and I've needed to get an episode to Lena to edit for me in time. And I've had people call me out to say, you know what? Would much prefer it when you're just talking off the cuff and you make mistakes, Jill. That episode sounded just too formulaic, sounded too polished, didn't sound like you, right? And the episodes that I've had the most positive feedback about, the ones that people have emailed me about the most, the ones that people have shared the most, that have quoted back to me, you know, in emails and that kind of thing. Those podcast episodes were often not the most strategic ones. And they certainly weren't always the ones with the perfect audio. Like sometimes I've really messed up and, you know, left my fan going in the background or something, and Lena's done her best and has been unable to get clear audio for me despite her editing genius. Those episodes have often been the ones where people will actually feedback and say, oh God, I love that episode. And, you know, you really told the truth there. And, you know, that hit me in all the feels. So that's something I've learned, is that it's not about the performance with this podcast. It's not about how polished I am in making sure I've really got a, you know, start, middle and end to the podcast and I know where I'm going. I've got the perfect call to action and all of that kind of thing. It isn't. It's dropping the mask. It's less performance, much more me. So this episode has really shaped how I show up everywhere in my business now, and which is that intimacy, that real connection matters so much more than performance, than being polished, than being the best turned out version of myself. That means that I get to hugely lean into one of my top 3 values, which is authenticity. And I can do that safe in the knowledge that it's what my audience want anyway from me. So I think there's a massive lesson in that, you know, we can talk a good game when it comes to authenticity, but really getting that feedback from people when you're a podcast host, when you've tried to be too strategic or too polished, to get that feedback from people saying, I don't like that so much. I like hearing the raw truth. That means a lot. Another thing I want to talk about is that when I first started Heads Together, I definitely did not feel like a podcaster. I felt very scrappy with it all, honestly. I did not do much planning. I wasn't sure anyone would listen anyway. And for quite a long while, people weren't. I had very few downloads for the first up to 6 months of this podcast, I would say, honestly. But I kept going. I kept going week after week. And this is one of the things that I tell you all the time. You probably get bored of hearing this. And that is that the people who are successful are just the ones who don't stop. They're the ones who know that marketing is a long game, that particularly content marketing is a long game, that what I do now, I'm going to reap the benefit of in 6 to 9 months. And I'm okay with that. So I just kept going. I trusted the process. I kept going week after week. And every week I got a bit better. I kept finding my voice a bit more. I sounded less like someone trying to pretend to be a podcaster and more like me. I stopped trying to find this voice that I thought I should use for the podcast, and I just use my voice like this. If you're a client of mine, you know this is how I talk to you in a coaching session. If you are in my membership, you know that this is how I show up for you inside the membership. There is just that one version of me now. And it is a little bit of a take it or leave it. I'm not going to perform. I'm not going to wear the masks anymore to try and be someone I'm not, to get approval, to get clients, to get growth. I'm not willing to do any of those things, which felt at the beginning like a risk and now feels like a prerequisite to success for me. So that practice of showing up week after week with that level of consistency has honestly built such a confidence in me that I now have for everything I do. Whether it's live teaching, whether it's a keynote speech, whether it's, building a new offer and daring to put it out into the world, not knowing whether someone is going to go for it or not knowing whether that's what someone wants from me or not, right? So if you are listening to this and you're wondering, like, should I start a podcast? Should I start a newsletter, a YouTube channel, a Substack, whatever? What I would say to you is you don't find your voice until you started the thing. In fact, you find your own voice because you started it. So you have to start before you feel like you have the voice that you want to put out there, because doing the thing gives you your voice. And once you've got it, you never have to put that down. You have it to take into every area of your business. And it's a confidence that just builds. I promise you, if you are one of those people who is scared to put themselves out there, like I was in the beginning, I was really scared for anyone to see me, hear me. I hated the sound of my own voice. I hated the way I looked on camera. I was terrified that I'd say the wrong thing and offend people. I was scared that people would disagree with me and call me out, and then I'd be embarrassed or self-conscious. All of those things, all of those imposter things I had. But the confidence has grown with the practice. Another thing that's just come up, I didn't have this in my bullet points, but this is actually quite important. You don't need a huge audience to make a difference, to have an impact on people. I definitely did not have a big audience when I started this podcast. I still, in terms of, some of the podcasters out there, I don't have a huge audience. But I have a very loyal audience, and I know that because of what I hear from you, my listeners, I know that when I come on each week and share with you something that I truly believe in my heart is going to help you grow your business, to help you do more of what you love, I know that that matters. And I know that that is what having an impact means to me. It's not about going viral for me. It's not about clocking up hundreds of thousands of listeners. It's about making a difference to the listeners that I do have. So I just wanted to say that, because sometimes I think people almost have this feeling of, it's just too hard to grow an audience these days. Or it's just too hard to get going. But it isn't. You can absolutely set the goalposts wherever you want to set them. And that can be just to speak into this mic or into, your camera. Just speak to a small circle of people that you want to have an impact on. Funny enough, I have actually had listeners write to me, even recently, about episodes that probably in the first 10 episodes I ever published, saying that they have just listened to those episodes and something in that helped them keep going or help them focus on something. And that's one of the things that is amazing about this kind of long form content that lives on, that isn't social media. It's not like Instagram. It doesn't just disappear. It's not like LinkedIn and doesn't get shown to anyone. This is my platform, and the people who follow me follow week in, week out. And new listeners who come in, they might start off, if you're a new listener now, you might be listening to this as the first episode you've ever listened to from Heads Together. But if you enjoy this episode, what you're going to do is you're going to then go and scroll back, and you're going to start looking at some of the titles of previous episodes, and you're going to think, that sounds like a useful one for me. And you're going to listen to those earlier episodes. So this is how having your own platform really gives you a place to share content that keeps working for you. Okay. And that's how you keep having an impact using the same content. And that's something you just don't get with social media, which is why if you are in my world, you know that I encourage everyone to have their own platform, to share their thought leadership, to share what matters to them. The next thing I wanted to share with you in terms of what hosting this podcast over the last 3 and a bit years has meant to me is that this podcast is now a record of my own evolution as a coach, as a business owner. Honestly, there's some episodes that I put out in the early days where I barely recognize that person now. In a good way. And I'm not saying I'm not having a downer on her. She produced some great content, some great episodes from the place where I was back then. I wasn't doing it wrong back then, but I've grown. I've really grown as a coach and as a business owner. And I guess that's why Heads Together in its current format is coming to an end now. It's because I'm ready for the next evolution. I'm ready for Rewild Your Business. I'm ready to go deeper with that. Something is emerging in me and I'm going with that. And for you, because you know if I'm going to share something, it's because I want you to know there's something in that for you too. It's okay to evolve. It's okay to outgrow old versions of your work. It's okay to simplify, to rewild, to rebuild, to tear it all up if you want to. It's a form of freedom to allow yourself to do that. But it's being loyal to the person that you're becoming every single day. Because we're never the same one day as we were the day before. And I love that about this crazy world of business that we're in. I absolutely love the fact that things are changing. One of the things I'm loving at the moment, and I know that a lot of people are not loving this, but I'm kind of loving the slight anti-tech, anti-social media, anti-onlineness of business right now. I love how we're all coming back to this deeper connections, having real conversations with real people, allowing our business to be more simple, not overcomplicating it with every single complex funnel and offer that we can lay our hands on. I actually love that. So again, this is me letting myself and my business evolve and following what my intuition is telling me is the right next phase for me. So I guess what I want to leave you with really today is that yes, the podcast is changing its name, but honestly, the heart of this podcast, the truth telling that you get from me, the absolute raw honesty of what it takes and doesn't take to grow a business, the commitment I have to doing the work that matters to me and to helping other women do work that matters to them. That's just all of that is getting stronger. So next week, I'm going to be introducing you to what's to come on Rewild Your Business. And honestly, I feel like this is going to be the era of the most me version of this podcast, if that's possible, because you get pretty much a lot of me right now. In a way, I feel like that's a challenge I'm setting myself is how freaking embodied am I willing to let the podcast be? How much of myself am I willing to put into this in its absolute radical authenticity, in its brutal honesty where it matters, to properly serve the people I want to serve in the best way I know how to, which has always been sharing what I have found to work or not work in terms of growing a business, sharing what I believe to be true about how to grow your meaningful business, how to do the work that matters for you. So I want to wrap up this episode, of course, by just saying thank you so much for every single download, every listen, every time you've shared the podcast, every time you've emailed me, every single moment we've spent putting our heads together. And I'm going to say one thing. Welcome to Rewild Your Business. It's coming very soon. And it's my birthday next week when we actually launch. So I'm excited. This show, hosting this podcast has changed me. It's changed me as a person. It's definitely changed me as a business owner. And I hope that these 169 episodes so far have changed you too as a business owner. I hope they meant something to you too. And one of the things that I've had some feedback on recently that you are loving is my journal prompts that I'm giving you. So I want to give you 3 journaling prompts to end this final Heads Together episode before we evolve and before we get going with Rewild Your Business. So here are the 3 prompts for this week. The first one, what part of your work or your business feels like it's asking to evolve, to change? That's the first one. What part of your business feels like it's asking to evolve? The second one is, in your business, where have you found your voice through taking action rather than waiting until it felt ready? Have you? Has that ever happened, or is that something that you're going to be willing to work on now? And then the third one is, what moment of connection in your business with your audience, however big or small, has reminded you that you're already making an impact? Those are the 3 journal prompts for this week. Enjoy them. You don't have to write reams, by the way. You can just ponder on those questions. See where they take you. Bonus points if you email me info@jillmoakes.com with the answers to those journaling prompts. I'm going to make a commitment today. I promise you, if you email me with those journaling prompts, I am going to make time and I'm going to make sure I reply to every single person. I will reply, not anyone else, to every single person that emails me, because I do love hearing from you so much. So that is all for today. This time next week, we begin again with Rewild Your Business. And I'll be sharing with you exactly what I mean by rewilding your business. And I'll be sharing with you exactly what it can mean for you and for what you want to achieve with your business. But for now, thanks for getting our heads together. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that getting our heads together this week has filled your mind with what's possible. If you love the show, would you do me a massive favour, please? Would you leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts? It would really help me put more heads together, reach more ears and expand more minds. Until next week, bye for now.